Hey, I'm Kev Mr. Khan. Welcome to Power Oversteer, and in today's episode we are previewing the Honda Indy 200, the Mid-Ohio round of the 2013 IndyCar Series Championship. And heading into this round, we do have Harry Keshanev leading the championship, but Scott Dixon 3 wins on the trot, including 2 at the double-header in Toronto last time out, is gaining fast, only 29 points behind the veteran Brazilian. Ryan Hunter, the reigning champion, he slips down to third now, 69 points behind Keshanev after a horrendous weekend in Toronto. Marco Andretti is 4th with Simon Pagenaud in 5th. Tony Kanaan is 6th. Dario Franchitti climbed up to 7th after a very strong run with 2 third places and a 4th in the last 3 races. James Hinchcliffe has slipped down to 8th with Justin Wilson in 9th and Will Power in 10th after a very entertaining weekend in Toronto. Charlie Kimball's 11th, AJ Viso is 12th, Takuma Sato is 13th, Ed Carpenter 14th, Joseph Newgarden 15th, Sebastian Bourdain 16th after a great double podium in Toronto. Graham Hill was 17th, James Jakes 18th, Timon Di Silvestro 19th, Tristan Volti 20th, Alex Tagliani, now an ex-IndyCar driver, in 21st, Sebastian Zavadi in 22nd, Oya Sober 23rd, Mike Conway 24th, Ryan Briscoe in 25th. And so let's talk about some news that's happened since the last round in Toronto. Well, from next year it's mandated that the engines will be twin turbochargers. This year Honda has gone for a single turbocharger, Chevrolet has a twin, but Honda was going to change their twin turbocharger anyway last year, and so it becoming mandatory, it doesn't really change the plans too much. I saw Marshall Pruitt on Speed website. He says that IndyCar continuing talks now, or resuming talks with the Circuit of the Americas for a round. It would be a great race round there, and it would be pretty vital as well to have a foothold in the Circuit of the Americas, of course, where MotoGP is, V8 Supercars has been, and of course F1 will be later this season. On the driver front, as I said, Alex Tagliani, ex-IndyCar driver, because Barracuda Racing, he has had disappointing results despite getting 10th last time out in Toronto. He has been asked to relinquish his seat, and Luca Filippi, who has been a GP2 runner-up, an AutoGP runner-up in 2011, GP2 Asia runner-up in 2010, and won in GP2 last year when he raced at Monza and got poled in Singapore. He was meant to have a race seat with Rahul Letterman-Lanigan last year, but that fell through. And this year, well, he's going to race in his IndyCar debut finally at Mid-Ohio in place of Tagliani at Barracuda Racing. James Davidson, you might not recognise the name, but he is the cousin of V8 Supercar driver Will Davidson, who's third in the championship at the moment, and former occasional V8 Supercar driver and sports car driver Alex Davidson as well. Well, he makes his debut in the number 18 Dale Coyne car, another driver in that number 18 car. He has won at Mid-Ohio in the past in 2008 and 2009. In fact, his only wins in the Indy Light Series, which he was a runner-up in 2009 behind J.R. Hildebrand. Well, he is going to drive this car this weekend, his first open wheel appearance since that Indy Lights campaign in 2009. Since then, he's been in the Grand Am Series for occasional races at Watkins Glen and Indianapolis in cars such as the BMW Riley and the Riley Ford and the Chevrolet Corvette as well last year. Also driving is Oyo Serba in the number 4 Panther, taking on the seat that Ryan Briscoe had in Toronto, and Carlos Munoz did in the second race, because Briscoe of course broke his wrist in the first race in Toronto. Well, we're going to hear from Briscoe a lot for this weekend as well, as he's in the AB Sports Network booth alongside Townsend Bell, who's won tries at Mid-Ohio in the past in 2000 and 2001 in Indy Lights, on his way to winning the title in Indy Lights in 2001, and Lee Duffy as well, the lead commentator from Australia. Ryan Briscoe, he's kind of following in the footsteps of his wife Nicole Briscoe, who hosts NASCAR Now on ESPN2 and was a former host of the Speed Report on the Speed Channel as well in America. And so yeah, it's going to be very interesting hearing from Ryan Briscoe, who has won in Mid-Ohio in the past in 2008 with Penske, but of course has that injured wrist, so he's out of action for quite a while that recovers, and hopefully he provides some insight, a bit like Dan Weldon did when he was in the booth occasionally in mid-2011. And that is the news that I've got from the series. I talked about the standings as well, so let's talk some track facts now. So the Honda Indy 200, as I said, it takes place at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course in Lexington, Ohio. It began having races here in 1970 with the US Formula 5000 series. Who won the first race was George Fulmer, I believe I said that right, with O'Neill Racing in a Lotus Ford. It was 100 miles, about an hour long race. In 1971, Sam Posey, you might not recognise him in Europe, but in America he's a broadcaster and legend, covered Indycars for quite a long time. Well, he was a former race driver, drove in Formula 1 and 2 races. Well, he also won here in 1971, or there in 1971. 1973, Jody Scheckter, the 1979 Formula 1 World Championship with Ferrari. Well, he, on his way to winning the F5000 title, he won in his Trojan Chevy. Trojan, very, very strong car, I'm guessing. Then in 1974, 1975 and 1976, Brian Redman won in his Formula 5000 car. And then it took a few years off the calendar before kart came, or the predecessor to Indycar came in 1980, the first kart race there, won by Johnny Rutherford, who also won the Indy 500 that year and won that year's kart title. He won in a Shavapul, I always say that wrong, in a Jim Hall car, and Jim Hall had also run the car that Brian Redman won those Formula 5000 races in, along with Carl Haas. And Carl Haas, he was part of Haas Newman Racing for a long time, and Haas Newman Lanigan Racing in the recent past. But yeah, Johnny Rutherford, 3-time Indy 500 winner, also won the kart title that year and won at Mid-Ohio in that first year. And kart has kind of been on and off the schedule since then. After that 1980 race, it was away for 2 years, then returned from 83 until 2003, and then it was off the schedule from 2004 to 2006 before returning to the IndyCar series since 2007. And then those 6 races since, guess who's won the most? Yes, Scott Dixon, the man who's on this hot streak at the moment, has won 4 times in that 6-year span, making him the most successful driver around this track, ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi, who's won 3 times here with Patrick Racing in 1988 and Penske Racing in 82, 92 and 93, and of course the aforementioned Brian Redman as well, won 3 times in the trot from 74 to 76. And it's been a very happy hunting ground for Chip Ganassi Racing since the return to Mid-Ohio. Apart from Dixon winning, Dario Franchitti won in 2010 on his way to his title, and the only guy who hasn't won, apart from Chip Ganassi, since the split, or since the return after the post-split basically, or just before post-split, since 2007, has been Ryan Briscoe in the Penske in 2008. And other kart drivers to have won round here, Heyo Kashineva's in his Penske in the old kart days before Penske switched to IndyCar. He won in 2000 and 2001, and that's quite a trend around this track here, where drivers win 2 races on the trot and then don't win the next race. We see it with Dixon recently in the past 2 years, in 2011, 2012. Kashineva, as I said, 2000, 2001. Alex Zanardi on the way to his 2 Champion Car titles in 96, 97 with Chip Ganassi. Emerson Fittipaldi in 92, 93. Michael Andretti before him in the Newman Haas racing machine, with the aforementioned Carl Haas being a partner, and they acted Paul Newman as well. He won in 90 and 91, and Bobby Rahal won in 1985 and in 1986 when he won the Indy 500 and the kart title with True Sports. And so yeah, it's quite a pattern where we see these double winners happening around this track, and this track has been sponsored by Honda since 2007, and yeah, it's one of these old school tracks. It hasn't really changed that much, and it's a very fast track. Occasionally it's got 12 turns round here. First turn very fast, and you go to the keyhole for turn 2, then a long backstretch to turn 3, where there have always a couple of incidents, always a couple of passing spots, and is the main passing spot on this track before a twisty rest after that from turn 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a bit of a back straight to turn 8, 9, 10, and then the carousel round turns turn 11 and 12 as well. So that is the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course, a very old school track, and a track I quite like, even though the races haven't been the best really, I would say, but it has a couple incidents as well on it, and that's always makes it exciting, even if the races overall aren't maybe the best. But it's always been in this mid-August slot since 2009. So that is some track facts about the Honda Indy 200. How about we do some predictions now? So predictions for the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. Well, you're always going to have a favourite, and this favourite is kind of obvious, I think. Scott Dixon, 3 wins on the trot at the circuit where he's most successful at in the history of open wheel racing. Yeah, Scott Dixon, I think he might be the favourite for this event, but as I said, he's won for the past 2 years, and nobody really goes for the 3rd win on a row, apart from Brian Redmond, of course, from 74 to 76, the only driver to be able to do that. So who can challenge him then? Well, of course, Helio Castroneves in his Penske car. He's been very strong all year, always in the top 10 apart from Sao Paulo, and leads the championship still after 6th and 2nd place in Toronto. Perhaps the closest challenger though will be Dario Franchitti, won in 2010 as I said, and is on a good run now. He's been in the top 10 for almost all of the races since the Indy 500. Only at Iowa has he been outside the top 10 when he finished 20th, and he's climbing his way up into the top 5 in the championship. He's in 7th, just 2 points off Pagano, who holds that 5th place. So Dario Franchitti coming on very strong this season. Very good to see him challenging up there as well, with Dixon in the Chip Ganassi machine. How about Charlie Kimball in the other Chip Ganassi machine? Finished 2nd in Pocono, got a good top 10 in the 2nd race in Toronto as well. On the edge of the top 10, just a point behind Will Power for that top 10 spot. Who would have said Will Power be fighting to be in the top 10 in the championship this year? But yeah, Charlie Kimball, we'll look out for him. As I said, Chip Ganassi always goes very strong here in recent years, since Mid-Ohio's return to the calendar in 2007. Of course, you always can't count out Andretti Autosport this year, perhaps the team of the year so far. We've got Ryan Hunter-Reay looking to bounce back after disappointing 3 races in a row compared to the Chip Ganassi pair, and you know, he's kind of dropped back in the championship hunt, 69 points off the lead. He'll be looking to bounce back here, and you know, I would expect him to bounce back as well, just like the champion he is. Marco Andretti, he's had a very strong year but hasn't won yet. I don't really expect him to win again, but I look out for him to be challenging there, right up there, maybe getting the top 5. And you know, he's been in the top 10 for most of the races this year, just at Milwaukee and the first race in Detroit he has not finished outside the top 10. So great year for Marco so far, but he just hasn't got that luck to get that win so far. But yeah, look for him to challenge. And James Hinchcliffe, up and down year. He's had an up race in Toronto and a down race in Toronto, so maybe look for him to be up in Ohio, be in the top 10 maybe. And EJ Viso, good top 5 in 2nd race in Toronto, and the 1st race in Toronto hampered by that stiff suspension, really making the tyres wear. They softened it up for the 2nd race, really did work out. So maybe look for Viso in a much improved year, 12th in the standings, much better than he's previously been in his IndyCar career. So look for maybe Viso to be up there as well in the Andretti car. For the road courses, who's always strong on a road course? Justin Wilson, of course, in the Del Coy machine. He was good top 10 in the 2nd race in Toronto, and 11th in the 1st race. A bit unlucky about that 11th place after, I believe, if I remember correctly, getting a penalty in that 1st race. But Also, maybe look out for his teammate James Davison, his debut in IndyCar. First time he's driven an open wheel machine in anger for 4 years. So maybe look out for him. As I said, very good record around Mid-Ohio, 2 wins in 2008, 2009. So maybe look for him to be a bit of a dark horse, maybe getting a top 10 despite it being his debut in IndyCar. Oyo Server and that Panther machine, of course, always consistent. Oyo Server, look for him to be up there in the top 10 just like he was in his last appearance in the IndyCar series in Iowa. Takuma Sato as well, he's very poor run from him, 23rd, 22nd, 24th and 20th in his last 4 races, and that was after a very good top 10 in Milwaukee. So look for him to bounce back just like he normally does. He's normally up and down, Sato. He has been since that F3 season in 2001, if I remember off the top of my head, when he won the British F3 tie. But since then he's been up and down in his career in F1 and IndyCar, so look for him to be up again. And this is a guy who was leading the championship heading into the Indy 500, if you remember, that very long time ago now it seems. But also look out for Tony Kanaan as well, and Simon Pagino, maybe even Bourdais. Looks like Dragon have finally got on top of the tyres this year, and it's like they've finally got a handle on this car as well. So yeah, maybe look out for Bourdais up there as well. And final dark horse, final contender I'm going to mention, Joseph Newgarden, the Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing machine. He's done very well on the ovals, of course. Got his best finish of 5th in Pocono, but he's also got a best finish of 5th on a road course, on a street course in Sao Paulo as well, and did well in Alabama as well at the Barber Motorsports Park with a top 10 and a top 10 in Detroit as well at the Bell Hour race in the first race there. So yeah, and maybe look out for Joseph Newgarden to continue his solid year with a top 10 at Mid-Ohio. But yeah, those are my predictions for the Mid-Ohio race. I think you've got to say Scott Dixon odds on to win it, but as I said, look out for Frank Kitty up there, Castro Neves, and for one of the Andretti Autosport machines to be up there challenging as well. So that is my preview of the Honda Indy 200 at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. Let me know your predictions in the comments below, of course, and I'll be back with a review of this and hopefully some gameplay on this channel. I've been concentrating a bit on gameplay on my second channel and sorting that channel out, so hopefully I'll be coming back and sorting out this channel as well. I'm hoping to get career mode back up and running from F1 2012 or Camera Career up this week. So salamat for watching, so till next time, cheerio.